I died at 38 years old, alone on the cold floor of my apartment, with an empty vodka bottle beside me and pills scattered across the carpet. But death wasn't the worst part. The worst was what I saw on the other side, the naked truth about who I had really become. My name is Sarah, and for years I pretended I was fine, that I had everything under control, that professional success compensated for the emptiness growing inside me like a silent tumor. Nobody knew my secret. Not my sister Marina, not my boss Robert, much less my therapist Dr. Claudia, whom I fooled for 6 months before simply stopping. The secret was simple and deadly. I had given up. Not in a dramatic way, with letters or goodbyes. I gave up little by little, one dose at a time, one day at a time, until waking up became just another item on an endless to-do list. People saw me as a successful manager at a multinational corporation, that woman who always had the right answer in meetings, who closed reports before the deadline, who smiled at company happy hours. But inside, I was falling apart. Every email was agony. Every call from my boss sent my heart racing. Every Monday drowned me in such intense panic that I needed 3 shots of liquor just to leave the house. And then came that Friday. The Friday when everything collapsed. The Friday I died. But before I tell you about death, I need you to understand what it was like to live that way. Because maybe you're also living in the same silent hell I lived in. My routine was a prison I built myself, brick by brick, year after year. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning with my heart already racing, even before opening my eyes. The first thought was never good morning. It was the panic of remembering how many pending tasks awaited me, how many unanswered emails were piling up, how many expectations I wouldn't be able to meet. Marina, my younger sister, always tried to call me for lunch. "Sarah, you need to slow down," she'd say, with those worried eyes that made me feel even worse. But I always had an excuse ready. Important meeting. Presentation for the board. We'll see each other later. Later never came. The truth is, I was ashamed to be around her. Marina had a simple life. She worked as a yoga teacher, lived in a small apartment, drove an old car. But she had something I lost along the way. Peace. She laughed for real. She slept well. She didn't need half a bottle of wine every night just to turn her mind off. At work, I was Sarah the Relentless. Robert, my boss, loved it. "You're the only one I can completely rely on," he'd say, piling more projects on my desk. And I accepted everything, with a forced smile, because refusing would be admitting weakness. It would show I wasn't as competent as I pretended to be. My team feared me. Lucas, the 22-year-old intern, trembled when he needed to present reports to me. Fernanda, my assistant for 3 years, had already cried twice in the bathroom after meetings with me. I knew this, and I hated myself for it. But I couldn't stop. The pressure Robert put on me, I poured onto them. It was a vicious cycle of anxiety and cruelty disguised as professionalism. The nights were my only refuge, and my greatest enemy. I'd get home at 9, 10 at night, exhausted but unable to relax. My mind was an infinite loop of worries. What if I mess up the report? What if they fire me? What if they find out I'm a fraud? That's when the drinking came in. I'd start with a glass of wine, just to relax. But one glass was never enough. It became 2, 3, half a bottle. When wine no longer worked, I migrated to vodka. It was more efficient, faster, quieter. Nobody needed to know that the successful manager slept drunk every night. My mother, Mrs. Beatrice, called on Sundays. "Honey, when are you coming for dinner?" I always promised. "Next Sunday, Mom." But next Sunday never came. I couldn't look her in the eyes and lie that I was okay. It was easier to avoid, keep distance, pretend I was too busy to care. Dr. Claudia was my last attempt at salvation. Marina insisted so much that I gave in. I went to the first session determined to prove I didn't need therapy. "I'm just stressed with work," I said, as if stress justified everything. She was kind, patient. "Sarah, have you considered that maybe work isn't the problem, but a symptom of something deeper?" That question scared me, because it meant I'd have to look inside, at the parts of me I buried under spreadsheets and presentations and quarterly goals. So I stopped going. I blocked her number. I pretended that conversation never happened. The panic attacks started 3 months before my death. The first was during a meeting with the board. I was presenting the quarter's results when, suddenly, the air disappeared. My chest tightened. My hands shook. Cold sweat ran down my back. I had to excuse myself and run to the bathroom, where I spent 20 minutes breathing inside a stall, trying not to scream. After that, the attacks became frequent. On the subway, at the supermarket, in the building elevator. My body was collapsing, but I kept pushing, because stopping would be admitting failure, and failure wasn't part of my vocabulary. I started mixing alcohol with anti-anxiety medication. Just to sleep, I told myself. Just to survive one more day. Just until things got better. But things didn't get better. They only got worse. Slowly, silently, like water rising in a sinking ship. Lucas, the intern, asked me once, "Sarah, are you okay? You look tired." I laughed. A bitter, empty laugh. "I'm great, Lucas. Just focused on work." He didn't insist. Nobody insisted. It was more comfortable to believe the lie. Marina tried one last time. She showed up at my apartment unannounced on a Thursday night. She found empty bottles in the kitchen. She saw the deep, dark circles under my eyes. "Sarah, for God's sake, what are you doing to yourself?" she cried. I cried too. But even so, I didn't ask for help. I said I was dealing with things, that she didn't need to worry, that I'd be fine. It was the last time I saw her before I died. Friday, March 18th. The day started like all the others. Badly. I woke up at 5 a.m. with my heart racing, my mouth dry, my head throbbing. Hangover. Always a hangover. I took 3 ibuprofen pills and black coffee. I put on my executive uniform. Black blazer, dress pants, high heels, the armor that protected me from the world. Robert called me before I even got to the office. "Sarah, we need to talk about the Miller project. The presentation is Monday, and it's still not perfect." Perfect. That word haunted me like a ghost. Nothing was ever perfect enough. Not even me. "I'll redo it, Robert. It'll be ready." My voice sounded confident. Inside, I was panicking. The morning was a blur of meetings and emails. Fernanda brought me coffee 3 times. "You need to eat something," she murmured. But I dismissed her with a wave of my hand. Food was a waste of time. I had work to do. At lunchtime, Marina sent a message. "Sis, can we talk? I'm worried about you." I read it and archived it. I'd respond later. Later, always later. At 3 p.m, I had another panic attack. I was alone in the bathroom when it happened. The world started spinning. My heart was beating so hard I was sure it would explode. "Not here," I whispered to myself. "Just a few more hours. Hold on, just a few more hours." I took 2 anti-anxiety pills. I waited for the trembling to pass. I touched up my makeup. I went back to my desk as if nothing had happened. Robert called me at 5. "Sarah, you're going to have to stay late. Miller wants changes to the proposal." Of course he did. They always did. I said I'd stay, because that's what I always did. At 8 p.m, everyone had already left. The office was silent, just the hum of computers and the air conditioning. I looked at the screen, at the slides that never seemed good enough, at the numbers dancing before my tired eyes. And then something inside me broke. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet, final, like a candle going out without warning. I grabbed my purse. I turned off the computer, and I went home. But home wasn't a home. It was just an empty place with expensive furniture and full bottles. I took off my shoes. I grabbed the vodka from the fridge. I didn't bother getting a glass. I drank straight from the bottle. I turned on my phone. Messages from Marina. "Sarah, please answer." Messages from Mrs. Beatrice. "Honey, you disappeared. Call Mom." An email from Robert. "I need the presentation tomorrow at 8 a.m. I turned off the phone. I sat on the couch. I drank more. The vodka burned, but it was a good kind of burning. A burning that silenced thoughts, that turned off voices, that made the emptiness seem less scary. I don't know when I decided. Maybe it wasn't a decision. Maybe it was just the next logical step in a spiral that began years ago. I went to the bathroom. I opened the cabinet. I grabbed the bottles of anti-anxiety medication. White pills, small, seemingly harmless. I took everything to the living room. I sat on the floor, the vodka bottle in one hand, the pills in the other. I thought about Marina, about her smile, about the peace she had that I never achieved. I thought about Mrs. Beatrice, about the calls I ignored, about the dinners I missed. I even thought about Lucas, the intern, about that fear in his eyes every time I entered the room. "I'm sorry," I whispered to the empty apartment. I tried. I really tried. I started taking the pills. 1, 2, 5, 10. I lost count. I washed each one down with a gulp of vodka. It was mechanical, almost peaceful, like finishing a report, like sending an email, like completing one more task on the endless list. My vision started to blur. The apartment spun gently, as if I were on a carousel. My body became heavy, so heavy, as if finally, after years, I could rest. I lay on the floor. The carpet was soft. I thought it was funny. I had bought that carpet 2 years ago, and this was the first time I really paid attention to it. It was blue, a pretty blue. My breathing became slow, deep. Each inhalation seemed to last an eternity. Each exhalation took a piece of me away. I thought about calling someone. Marina, an ambulance, anyone. But my phone was off, on the other side of the room, miles away. "Marina," I murmured. My voice was barely a whisper. Sorry I wasn't stronger." The apartment became very silent. Or maybe my ears had stopped working. I couldn't feel my hands anymore. My feet. My body was dissolving like sugar in water. There was fear. A lot of fear. But also relief. A terrible and sad relief. Because finally, I could stop fighting. My eyes closed. I didn't try to open them again. And then, silence. Absolute silence. The kind of silence that exists before the creation of the universe. The kind of silence that comes after the end of everything. I was dead. In the beginning, there was only darkness, but it wasn't scary. It was comforting, like being wrapped in an infinite blanket of black velvet. There was no pain. There was no anxiety. There was no crushing weight I had carried for so long. And then I realized something strange. I was still thinking. If I'm dead, how can I think? The question arose clear as crystal in my mind, and with it came awareness. I was conscious, more conscious than I had ever been in life. I opened my eyes, or whatever my eyes were now, and found myself floating near the ceiling of my apartment. Down below, on the floor, was my body. It looked so small, so fragile. There was an empty bottle beside it, pills scattered like macabre confetti. My face was pale, my lips slightly bluish. Is this real? I thought. But it was. Somehow I knew it was real. I tried to return to my body. I floated down, tried to enter that empty shell again, but it was like trying to wear clothes that no longer fit. There was no connection. The Sarah who lived there had departed. That's when I heard the apartment door open. Marina. She had a key. She always had one, for emergencies. And today, or was it yesterday, time seemed strange, fluid. She decided to use it. "Sarah?" she called, entering cautiously. "I know you're home. Your car is downstairs. Please, I just need to know you're okay." I tried to scream. "Marina, I'm here. Look up." But no sound came out. I had no voice, no vocal cords, nothing but this ethereal consciousness. Marina entered the living room. She saw my body. Her scream tore through the silence. "No, Sarah! No, no, no!" She ran, knelt beside me, shook my body. "Sarah, wake up, please, wake up." I floated there, trying to reach her, trying to comfort her. "Marina, don't cry. I'm here. I'm okay." But my words were as silent as death. She grabbed the phone with trembling hands. "Hello? I need an ambulance. My sister, pills. Please, come quickly." Watching Marina cry over my body was worse than dying. Seeing her pain, her despair, her guilt, I should have insisted more, should have done something, was an agony I never experienced in life. But then something started to happen. The room began to become different. The edges became blurred. A soft light began to pulse in the corner of my vision. I turned, or thought about turning. The movement was more intentional than physical, and I saw a tunnel, but it wasn't dark and scary like in the movies. It was inviting. The walls, if they were walls, glowed with a blue-golden light that pulsed like a cosmic heartbeat. And there, at the end, distant but clearly visible, there was a light different from anything I had ever seen. It wasn't like the sun. It wasn't like a lamp. It was as if the very essence of light, of peace, of love, had been condensed into a brilliant point at the end of that tunnel. And I knew, without knowing how I knew, that if I went to that light, I wouldn't come back. I looked at Marina one more time. Paramedics were arriving. 2 men and a woman ran in with equipment. Female patient, 38 years old, possible overdose, one of them said into a radio. The light in the tunnel pulsed, as if calling me, and I let go. I let Marina crying. I let the paramedics trying to save a body I had already abandoned, and I went toward the light. The journey through the tunnel was instantaneous and eternal at the same time. I moved without moving, traveled without traveling, and with each moment, the light became more intense, more beautiful, more everything. Then I emerged, and what I saw took my breath away. If I still had breath to take. I was in a field of light. Not a field with light, but a field made of light. It extended infinitely in all directions, undulating like water, pulsing like music, alive and conscious. Colors that don't exist on Earth danced around me. Sounds that weren't sounds, but pure sensations enveloped my consciousness. And I wasn't alone. Beings of light moved around, each radiating love, peace, joy. They didn't have fixed forms. Sometimes they seemed human, sometimes they were just luminous presences. But all welcomed me, all knew me. "Welcome, Sarah," a voice said, not with words, but directly into my consciousness. "We were waiting for you." I turned and froze. Before me was a presence that radiated such love, such compassion, such absolute understanding, that it made me want to cry. If it was possible to cry without a body, the presence had no defined form. Sometimes it seemed like a man of light, sometimes just a loving consciousness. But I knew, with absolute certainty, who it was. "Jesus," I whispered in my mind. "It is I," the presence responded. "And I have much to show you, Sarah." His voice, or thought, or whatever it was like honey and thunder, gentleness and power, all at once. "You suffered greatly," he continued, "but the suffering was not in vain. There were lessons, there was growth, and now I'm going to show you the truth about your life." Before I could respond, the field of light changed. Suddenly, I was seeing scenes from my life, but not as memories, as if I were there again, reliving each moment. I saw my childhood. Mrs. Beatrice putting me to bed, singing softly. I was 5 years old. "Sleep, my love. You're going to do amazing things in this life." I felt her love, not just remembered it, but felt it as if it were a physical force, warm and comforting. I saw my adolescence. Marina, at 12, asking for my help with homework. I was 17, busy studying for college entrance exams. Later Marina, but later never happened. I saw the disappointment in her eyes, and for the first time, I felt what she felt, the sadness of being set aside by the sister she idolized. "You see," Jesus said gently, "each action, each word, each moment, all have consequences that extend beyond what we can see." The scenes continued. I saw my first job, the enthusiasm, the passion. When it started, I loved working. I loved solving problems, helping people, making a difference. But then I saw the moment when that changed. It was a meeting with my first boss, Mr. Henry. He put a report in front of me. "Sarah, you're good, but good isn't enough in this world. You need to be exceptional, perfect, relentless." And I believed him. I believed my value was in what I produced, not in who I was. I saw the years pass. Each promotion took me further from myself. Each raise paid for more pieces of my true self that I sold. I saw how I became Robert, cold, demanding, incapable of empathy. because I was too busy surviving. Do you see the pattern? Jesus asked. You weren't born this way. You chose this, step by step, decision by decision, and each choice took you further from the truth. What truth? I asked, already knowing the answer. That you are loved, not for what you do, but for who you are. That your value isn't in spreadsheets or presentations or boss approval. It's here. He touched where my heart would be. And when he touched, I felt a wave of love so powerful it would have knocked me down if I had knees. The scenes changed. I saw the moments I had forgotten, or chosen to forget, and each one was a stab of understanding. I saw Lucas, the intern, going home after a day when I had humiliated him in a meeting. He cried in the shower as hot water fell over him, mixing with his tears. I'm not stupid, he sobbed. Why does she make me feel so incompetent? And I felt his tears as if they were mine. I felt the deep pain of someone who just wanted to learn, grow, be accepted, and found only rejection and cruelty. I saw Fernanda, my assistant, at the psychiatrist's appointment. I can't sleep anymore, she said, hands trembling. I wake up every night with panic attacks, thinking about the emails I didn't answer, the mistakes I might have made. The doctor prescribed anti-anxiety medication. Because of me, because of the toxic environment I created. I saw how my own pain multiplied through her, infecting another soul with the same anxiety that consumed me. I saw Robert praising my hard work to the board, but now I could see the truth. He used me. I was convenient, efficient, disposable. Sarah is great, he'd say. Never complains, takes on any project. And when he left the room, one of the directors commented, How long until she burns out, you think? Robert laughed. 3, maybe 4 years. But until then, we'll extract everything we can. I was a resource, not a person. And I had allowed it. And I saw Marina. Dozens of moments that accumulated like drops of water forming an ocean of rejected love. Her trying to reach me on every birthday I forgot. Every Christmas I canceled at the last minute because I had urgent work. Every phone call where my voice sounded distant, disinterested, rushed. I saw a specific scene that tore my heart. Marina at 26, sitting alone in a restaurant waiting for me. It was her birthday. She had reserved my favorite table, ordered my preferred dish, rehearsed for days what she wanted to tell me. Sarah, I know you're busy, but I'm worried about you. Can we talk about it? But I never showed up. I sent a message. Sorry, meeting ran late. Dinner another day? She sat there for 45 minutes, refusing to let the waiter take away my empty chair, insisting I'd still come. When she finally accepted I wouldn't arrive, she cried right there, in the crowded restaurant, while couples around celebrated and laughed. I saw her returning home that night and opening her journal. With trembling handwriting, she wrote, I'm losing my sister. She's drowning and won't let me help. How can I save her if she doesn't even recognize she's drowning? God, please don't let me lose her. She's all I have. And yet she never gave up. I saw her praying for me every night. Literally, every night for years. On her knees beside the bed, hands together, tears in her eyes. God, protect Sarah. Show her there's more to life than work. Help her find peace. Please bring my sister back to me. I saw her calling, texting, showing up at my apartment even knowing I'd probably dismiss her. Each attempt rejected. Each door closed in her face. And even so, she came back. Because her love was unconditional, in a way I never understood until that moment. I was always too busy for the only person who truly loved me unconditionally. The only person who saw through the corporate armor and loved the vulnerable Sarah underneath. The only person willing to fight for me when I had given up fighting for myself. Why are you showing me this? I cried. Isn't it enough that I'm dead? Do I need to relive all the pain I caused? It's not about punishment, Sarah, Jesus responded with infinite gentleness. It's about understanding. You need to see the truth before you can choose. Choose what? Whether to go back. The words hit me like lightning. Go back? I can go back? You can, but not to the life you had. That life was killing you slowly, long before the overdose. If you go back, you'll have to choose differently, live differently, be different. How? How can I be different after everything I've done? He smiled, or transmitted something that felt like a smile. Starting with the truth about why you worked so hard. Because I wanted to be successful. No, the truth, Sarah. And then I saw. A memory I had buried so deep I'd forgotten it existed. I was 13. My father, who died when I was 15, was talking with Mrs. Beatrice in the kitchen. They didn't know I was listening. Beatrice, I don't know if we're going to make it. The bills, it's too much. Maybe I'll have to sell the house. My mother cried softly. The girls, they don't deserve this. I remember feeling, even at 13, a crushing guilt, as if it were my responsibility to fix the family's financial situation, as if I needed to prove I deserved their sacrifice. And there it was, the root of everything. I worked compulsively not out of ambition, but out of guilt, out of fear, out of a sick need to prove I was worthy of my family's love, of the space I occupied in the world. You carried a burden that was never yours to carry, Jesus said. Your father loved you. Your mother loves you. Not because you're successful, but because you're their daughter. And nothing, absolutely nothing that you do or fail to do, can change that love. Tears. Somehow there were tears, even without a body, rolled down my ethereal face. I messed everything up. I wasted so much time. I hurt so many people. What if I told you it's not too late? That Marina still needs you? That Mrs. Beatrice still prays for you every night? That even Lucas and Fernanda deserve to see the real Sarah, not the armor you wore? I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm strong enough. He enveloped me in light. No, in an embrace. An embrace made of pure light and unconditional love. Sarah, you never needed to be strong. You only needed to be honest. Honest about your pain. Honest about your limitations. Honest about needing help. In that embrace, I felt all the broken pieces of me being gathered. Not fixed, the cracks were still there, but united, accepted, loved despite the imperfections. What do? I whispered. You choose. You can stay here, in peace, without pain. Or you can go back and make peace with the life you have, not the life you thought you should have. I thought about Marina crying over my body, about Mrs. Beatrice receiving the call no mother should receive, about all the lunches I missed, the calls I ignored, the hugs I rejected. I want to go back, I said. I want to fix what I broke. I want to tell Marina I'm sorry. I want to hug my mother. I just want to live. For real, this time. Jesus smiled, and this time, I could see clearly. Then go. But remember, true peace isn't in work or money or success. It's in connection. It's in honesty. It's in allowing others to love and help you. It's in valuing time more than productivity, relationships more than achievements. I'll remember, I promise. And Sarah? Yes? Seek help, therapy, support groups. Don't try to do this alone again. Strength isn't in carrying everything alone. It's in having the courage to ask for help. I nodded, and then the light began to flicker. The field began to disappear. I felt a force pulling. Waking up was pure agony. My body was fire. Every nerve screamed. My stomach convulsed in violent spasms. There was a tube in my throat. Blinding lights above me. Voices shouting medical commands. She's coming back. Blood pressure rising. Heart rate stable. I tried to scream, but the tube blocked my throat. I tried to move, but I was restrained by straps. Panic, the old familiar panic, began to rise. Sarah, you're safe. You're in the hospital. A female voice, calm but firm. My name is Dr. Carvalho. You had an overdose, but you're alive. I need to remove the tube, okay? But I need you to cooperate. The tube came out. I vomited immediately. Coughing, vomiting, crying, all at the same time. My body was collecting on every terrible decision I had made. Marina, I managed to gasp. Where? Marina? I'm here, sweetheart. Marina appeared at my side, eyes red and swollen from crying. She took my hand. I'm here. I'm not leaving you. Seeing her face, alive, real, not just a memory or vision, made me break down. Sorry, I sobbed. Sorry. Shh, don't talk now, just rest. We're together, that's what matters. The next few days were a blur of detoxification, intensive therapy, psychiatric evaluations. Mrs. Beatrice came. When I saw her in the hospital room doorway, something inside me broke and rebuilt at the same time. "Mom." She ran to me, hugged me like when I was a child. My daughter. Thank God you're alive." I cried in her arms for hours. I cried for all the lost Sundays, for all the ignored calls, for all the wasted time pretending I didn't need her. "I need help, Mom," I admitted for the first time. "I can't do this alone." "I know, love, and we'll find help, together." Robert called me once in 3 weeks in the hospital. "Sarah, about the Miller project. When do you think you'll be back?" Something inside me, maybe the echo of that light, maybe just finally finding courage, responded, "I'm not coming back, Robert." Silence on the other end. "What?" "I resign, effective immediately. You can find someone else to finish the Miller project. Someone who still has a soul to sell." I hung up before he could respond, and for the first time in 10 years, I felt something like freedom. Dr. Claudia, my former therapist, agreed to see me again. Our first session after the hospital was intense. "Why did you come back, Sarah?" she asked gently. "Because I almost died and I saw things. I saw who I became, and I don't want to be that person anymore." "What did you see?" I told her everything. The tunnel, the light, Jesus, the life review. She listened without judgment, without skepticism, just with the compassionate presence I had rejected the first time. "And what did you learn?" she asked when I finished. That work was my drug, my way of escaping, of not feeling, of not facing the guilt, the fear, the inadequacy. I took a deep breath, and that I need to learn to really live, not perform, just live. We started the work. Real, deep, painful. Deconstructing years of toxic patterns. Understanding where my needs for approval came from. Learning that rest isn't weakness. That asking for help is courage. That I'm worthy of love even when I'm not productive. Marina became my anchor. She took me to yoga classes, taught me meditation, showed me there was beauty in simple days, without agendas, without goals, without pressure. "You know," she said one afternoon while we were having tea at her apartment, "I always wanted you to have my peace, but you thought I was the one without ambition. I was blind. You had everything that matters, and I had numbers on a spreadsheet. You have more than that now. I have you, I have Mom, I have a second chance." I took her hand. "I'm not going to waste it." I also made sure to meet with Lucas and Fernanda. It took me 2 months to gather courage, but I finally wrote asking to talk. Lucas came to meet me at a cafe. He was nervous, clearly not knowing what to expect. "Lucas," I began, "I owe you an apology. An honest and complete apology for the hell I put you through." He blinked, surprised. Sarah, are you okay?" "I'm better. I'm in treatment. And part of that treatment is making peace with the people I hurt." I took a deep breath. "You didn't deserve my anger, my impatience, my cruelty. You were just a kid trying to learn, and I made your job a nightmare. I'm sorry." Tears welled up in his eyes. Thank you. That means a lot. It really does." Fernanda was harder. When we met, she kept her distance, arms crossed defensively. "Fernanda, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know that what I did, the environment I created, the way I treated you, was abuse. There's no excuse. You deserved respect, kindness, support, and I gave you the opposite." She was quiet for a long time. Then, "You know I developed panic disorder working with you." Each word was a stab. "I didn't know, but it doesn't surprise me. And I'm sorry. From the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry." "Why? Why were you like that?" "Because I was drowning and pulling everyone down with me. Because I was so lost in my own pain that I couldn't see others." I looked into her eyes. "But it's not an excuse, and I'm working to be different." She nodded slowly. "I hope you succeed, I really do." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. And I understood that sometimes that's all we can ask for. Months passed. 6, 8, a year. Each day was an exercise in choosing differently. Choosing honesty instead of performance. Choosing connection instead of isolation. Choosing life instead of just existence. I got a new job, not at a multinational, at a small nonprofit that helped people with addictions. The salary was a third of what I earned before, but for the first time in a decade, I went to work without feeling like I was going to an execution. And at night, instead of bottles and pills, there was dinner with Mrs. Beatrice, walks with Marina, therapy sessions, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, where I learned my story wasn't unique, but it was mine to tell. Today, I look out the window of my small apartment. I traded the penthouse for a smaller, cozier place, and I see the sunrise, pink and gold, painting the sky like a renewed promise. 2 years have passed since the night I died. 2 years since I saw the light. 2 years since I chose to come back. Life didn't become perfect. I still have difficult days. Days when anxiety grips. Days when the old impulse to run away tempts me. But now I have tools. I have therapy. I have Marina. I have Mrs. Beatrice. I have a support network that holds me when I feel like I'm going to fall. More importantly, I have honesty. When I'm struggling, I say so. Marina, I'm having a hard day. Dr. Claudia, I need an extra session this week. Mrs. Beatrice, can you come for dinner today? I need a mom hug. And you know the most surprising thing? People show up. They help. They love. When you allow it. At work, I'm a different Sarah, kind, patient, human. When someone makes a mistake, I breathe deeply and remember, imperfection isn't failure. It's humanity. I've taken up hobbies again. I paint. Nothing professional, just paint and canvas, and the joy of creating without judgment. I walk in the park. I read books that have nothing to do with productivity or business. I live. And every Sunday, without fail, I have lunch with Mrs. Beatrice and Marina. Not because it's an obligation, because it's joy. Because these moments, laughter around the table, shared stories, love without agenda, are what life really is. Sometimes, when I'm alone, I close my eyes and remember the light, the infinite field, Jesus' embrace, and that peace that surpasses all understanding, still lives in me. Not always, not perfectly, but in glimpses, in moments. Enough to remind me there's more to life than spreadsheets and deadlines and boss approval. Recently, I started telling my story, first at AA meetings, then at support groups for professionals with burnout. It's terrifying, being so vulnerable, admitting so publicly how I failed, how I suffered, how I almost destroyed everything. But always, after I finish, someone comes to me, eyes full of tears. That's my story too. Thank you for saying out loud what I felt alone. You gave me hope. And that's why I'm here now, sharing with you. If you're reading this, or hearing this, and you recognize something of yourself in my story, if you're also drowning in work, running away through addictions, losing connection with those you love, living with constant anxiety, I want you to know, you're not alone. I've been where you are, at rock bottom, at the moment when it seems there's no way out. And I'm here to tell you, there is a way out. There is light. There is hope. But you need to choose them. Choose honesty over performance. Choose connection over isolation. Choose asking for help over carrying everything alone. Choose therapy, support groups, difficult conversations. Choose letting go of what doesn't matter to embrace what really counts. It won't be easy. I won't lie and say it is, but it will be worth it. Every painful step, every moment of vulnerability, every time you choose honesty over the comfortable lie. True peace, the one I saw in the light that Jesus showed me, isn't in work or money or achievements. It's in genuine relationships. It's in Sunday lunches with those who love you. It's in allowing others to see your imperfections and love you anyway. It's in recognizing you're human, fallible, worthy of love, not for what you do, but for who you are. If this story touched you, if you recognize something of yourself here, I ask, don't keep it to yourself. Share, comment, leave your story, because every time someone has the courage to say, me too, someone else finds strength to seek help. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that heal. Real stories of real people facing real pain. You're not alone on this journey. and together we can find the way back to the light. May you find your peace. May you have courage to ask for help. May you discover your value isn't in what you produce, but in who you are. And if today you're where I was that fatal Friday, please, call someone. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 988. A friend, a family member, anyone. Because your life has value, your future has possibilities, and the world needs your light, not your perfection. Choose to stay, choose to fight, choose to live. I chose. And today, every sunrise is a reminder. I died to learn how to live. And that lesson, painful, transformative, sacred, was the greatest gift I ever received. You also deserve this gift. You also deserve to really live. Go find your light. It's waiting. With love and hope, Sarah.